Man, this world is getting crazier by the day. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We have this insane clip from a TV show called New Amsterdam. You won't believe what they're now trying to tell us. Okay, we'll get into that. We got some interesting story about strawberries that you're going to definitely want to see. We'll get into that. We have this lady that plays Helen of Troy. Lupita, apparently she was in Black Panther as well. You won't believe what she's now saying. We'll get into that. She's going to be on this movie, The Odyssey. And we're going to get into that a little bit, some of the history behind it. We're going to get into actually a number of other topics as well. We got what Russell Crowe did recently and just a bunch of other insane things going on. And something huge I'm going to cover on my other channel. I might brush into it here. This is crazy what they're doing in New York City. We'll get into that maybe a little bit on the tail end. Let's just get going here. Let's start with New Amsterdam. A doctor explains to her mother that her son's tumor grew because of internalized racism. I am not joking. This is literally what they're saying in the episode. Check this out.
What does that have to do?
Your son, he feels threatened on a daily basis. Like everything he's earned can just be taken away. He's disenfranchised. But because his life is seemingly free from all this, because he can't name it, he's internalizing it.
Name what?
Racism.
Oh, he's racist.
I think your son's too...
Oh my goodness. He's racist. That's why his life is falling apart and he has tumors. And we were able to diagnose this and we're hoping to save his life from racism. You know, I mean, this is the kind of stuff they're putting on TV now. No joke. And it actually just reminded me of this other story I saw that was on X of a Canadian. And I didn't even have that pulled up. Let me show you this really quick. This Canadian guy who apparently had some strange theories ends up getting committed in Canada. This guy right here. He seems to be very, very well put together. He seems very smart. I think he's a chemist or something. He is able to control his emotions very well. I mean, he seems to talk very eloquently to the police. Seems like there's nothing wrong with the guy, other than he does have a bizarre theory. He has a couple strange theories. Although some of the stuff he says actually sounds reasonable. It sounds very reasonable. Talking about Chinese in, of course, Canada. Because I've actually talked about that myself just on, random videos in the past. Like 2 years ago, there was some weird exercise going on in Canada right above Vancouver, above Tacoma. I think it was Tacoma in Washington State. And right while they were doing this exercise, 3 of our power substations went down and got hacked. And I was like, that's kind of a weird coincidence. Apparently there's a lot of other weird things going on there. Also in the United States, we have strange things like this as well. I already talked about this a few times at this point, about Meta. This guy was let go from Meta like 4 days ago. He mentions that 90% of his software engineer coworkers are Chinese, and they routinely exclude disadvantaged target layoffs of those who are not Chinese. And then we're talking in America. We're talking a facility in the United States owned by Facebook Meta, has 90% software engineers from China in it. That's what I'm saying. This is what this guy's saying. I'm not saying I know for a fact he's telling the truth, but I'm guessing he is. He used to work there. He's saying that they would purposely, give promotions to Chinese only. So the only people that don't do this apparently are the West or Americans, or it's just kind of funny how that is. Brits, people from France, wherever, America, United States, we're the only ones that don't put ourselves first. We put everything else first in front of us, right? Every other country and culture is doing the exact opposite. Right? No, hell no. We'll put ourselves first. Oh yeah, I know it is pretty ridiculous, but we'll do it anyways, right? This is the kind of stuff you're seeing going on around us. And of course, at any rate, so I thought it was kind of hilarious that they were saying that tumors were caused by racism. And it has nothing to do with stuff like this. Strawberries turn baking soda water brown, raising pesticide questions. The video shows baking soda lifting dirt and residues from strawberries, which often rank high on list of produce with pesticide traces due to their thin skins. 2026 test found 12 pesticides on conventional Driscoll berries, including forever chemicals above some international limits, but within U.S. standards. This is what I'm talking about. In the United States, a lot of people getting cancer, everyone getting some certain illnesses or have health issues. Not everyone, literally, but you know what I'm saying. But then you go to like places like Italy, they can eat nonstop carbs like all day long and lose weight. You come to America, you gain weight trying to exercise and eating healthy because they put all this garbage in our food here. This might be why you get cancer. I don't know, 70 different pesticides on your strawberries. That might do it. Not racism. You know what I mean? It's like so dumb. I mean, if it was the case, then you would have all these other countries that seemingly put themselves first might be getting tumors left and right, but that's not what they're getting, are they? No, they're not. So I find all this stuff ridiculous. They just want you to believe whatever they put on the TV, apparently. We're going to get into a ton of stuff. We're just barely getting started, my friends. We're going to get into what the utter hypocrisy of those in Hollywood, like Lupita here, who was very upset over the whole thing with Black Panther. Racism against, of course, blacks. But then when it comes to the Greeks, no, who cares? Who cares? We'll get into that in a second here. We're going to get into a ton of other stuff. Of course, they're trying to claim that Trojan Wars were not real when they were. We'll get into a number of other things as well. Even what's going on in New York a little bit. First, I'm going to mention food supply. 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 3 months worth for $7.97. Definitely want to get that if you have not already. You see all the mostly peaceful things going on around us all the time. Whatever might be next. Robots, AI, World War III, whatever insanity. You want to be prepared for whatever it is. Get this book as well. The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity. $37. Get the printed version. Go check us out on X. We have stuff doing pretty well over there. We get stuff viral here and there, and we've got some awesome stories that we don't cover over here. You're going to definitely want to check that out. Check out my membership section. I got videos over there you will not see over here. Link is in the description for all that stuff. Lupita Nyong says she's not spending my time dignifying the Odyssey racist casting criticism. So you're apparently racist for pointing out facts, apparently. It's not racist for her to misappropriate another, of course, race. Yeah, that's not racist at all. Yeah, this is what she's saying here. After the casting that launched 1,000 trolls, Lupita isn't wasting her energy on acknowledging haters. The Oscar winner recently shared her response to racially fueled online criticisms of her casting as Helen of Troy, Helen's sister, Clytemnestra, in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, an adaptation of Homer's ancient Greek epic, The Odyssey. This is mythological story, she told Elle. I'm very supportive of Chris' intention with it and with the version of his story that he's telling. Well, it's kind of funny because I'm pretty sure the Wakanda is fictional as well. I don't think that's a real place. So Lupita is upset by the misrepresentation of African culture, but has a problem blatantly doing it. No problem blatantly doing it to Greek culture. This woman is a little bit of a hypocrite, you might say. Let's play this real quick.
Is that there is a whole host of people who get the misrepresentation that Africa has had and who respect the continent, want to reinvestigate the continent and re-represent the continent. And that's important to me because I'm all about the demystification of the African continent.
So, of course, very, very important to her that Africa is promoted, that it's not misrepresented, wanted to represent it as best she could on the movie Black Panther, but when it comes to a Greek epic, clearly not an African story, she seems to have no problem with representing something that is not factual. It actually says that she is light-skinned in the actual epic itself in multiple places, I think 2 places. It says that Helen of Troy is light or fair-skinned. It doesn't say she's black. Although it is true that Zeus was dark, from what I understand, or golden or something. And I think they might, and there is something to Zeus's apparent admiration for one country. I think it's the Ethiopians in Africa, if I remember correctly, in the tale. But I think it's because, if I understand correctly, because I do a lot of research into ancient texts, the Apocrypha, Pseudepigraphia, other ancient stories of the past. If I understand correctly, these gods were created of brass and fire. This is how it even says it in the scriptures, that these gods were created of brass and fire. If you're created of brass and fire, you're going to look literally dark. I mean, literally you have here kind of like a brass colored, I mean, she's darker than that, but you got fire literally behind her as well. Zeus was created with brass and fire. And apparently there's something about him admiring the Ethiopians or something in some of these epics, but that doesn't mean that his daughter was, obviously she is fair-skinned according to the epic. So that's not the same thing. At any rate, you get the idea. Now, of course, she claims it's all mythology, that Helen of Troy did not exist. You even have here Google Gemini. As a figure of Greek mythology, Helen of Troy did not exist as a real historical person. But then again, it says, well, she was born around 1270 BCE. But then, I get a little bit of a mixed response from Google Gemini. Did the Trojan War actually happen? Yes, the Trojan War likely had a real historical basis. Well, Helen of Troy was fought over in the Trojan War. I thought Helen of Troy wasn't real. Then how's the Trojan War real and she's not real? Kind of weird. Why historians wrote something that's half real and half fake? That don't make a lot of sense. Usually historians don't do that, at least to my knowledge. Of course, they're going to say, well, no, this is not real. It's fake. They'll claim it's like some sort of spiritual thing. Was Ajax the Great real? Ajax was not real historical person. This is what Google Gemini just said again, even though it said he was one of the ones that fought in the Trojan War. Then you go look at actual writings from philosophers, historians. Philostratus says the tomb of Ajax was swept out to sea during the time of the Roman Emperor Hadrian. That was around the time of Christ. Actually, it's a little bit after the time of Christ, about 100 AD. So, according to Philostratus, who was a biographer, he says that Ajax did exist, and that 1,300 years later, his tomb was being swept out to sea, so they had to get his massive skeleton, which they claimed was 16.5 feet tall, and reinter it into a new grave. So, it's kind of weird. I thought he didn't exist. Then why are people saying he did exist in the historical record? I always find it hilarious how we ignore what the historians say, but then we believe what evolutionists say. Evolution, 35 million years ago, we evolved and started walking. How do you know that? You got proof of that? Well, we're scientists. We know everything. And then you got a historian that wrote something like 2,000 years ago. Well, that's fake. There's no way that's true. I find that hilarious. As a scientist myself, I find that hilarious. Where did Philostratus say the tomb of Ajax was swept? It was in a dialogue on Heroes, or Hierocus. Philostratus states that the original tomb of Ajax was swept to sea near Troy, specifically eroding into the coastal lands of Rhoeteon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing these words right. At any rate, Emperor Hadrian was a real emperor. He apparently reinterred his bones into a new tomb, a guy that didn't exist according to Google Gemini. But then, of course, Google Gemini said the Trojan Wars happened. So it's like kind of confused. It's like, it did happen. It didn't happen. It did happen. Whatever. You get the point. I just find it hilarious how they do that with history, because they don't want to believe that there's giant people that were 16 foot tall. That's why. They don't want to believe these stories because they say things they don't want to believe. Like, there were dragons. No, there weren't dragons. So we can't believe the story, even though you don't know if there was dragons. You weren't living back then. There weren't giants because we know everything about giants, even though you didn't live back then, right? So they say that there's dragons, there was giants. They say a lot of things like this all throughout history. You can go to even the 1600s, they have historical books saying that there were giant skeletons. The conquistadors in South America were saying it. You can go back another 1,000 years, see the same stuff. You can see the history of China, dragons all throughout the countryside of China. All fake, apparently. Marco Polo, what he said about dragons, fake. Alexander the Great, fake. Apparently, real people can say things about the past and we just ignore them. It wasn't true. Of course it ain't true. Right? This is what I'm saying. They like pick and choose what they want to believe. Alexander the Great was real, but what he said here was fake. You know what I mean? Like, they're just making up stuff as they go. They're like literally just they don't want to believe something written down because they can't imagine it being true. At any rate, you get the idea. And so I wanted to show you something else. This is pretty crazy. So I covered on my other video about Disclosure Day coming out in theaters in a few days. What is it? Like 2 weeks approximately. Steven Spielberg created this movie. And of course, what's interesting about it is you're noticing some patterns. We have right now them releasing the UFO files at the exact same time. Our government is, the Pentagon. Why do we always see stuff like this? Why do we see them releasing UFO files while they have a major movie coming out the exact same time like this? It's really bizarre. We saw that back in 2020. The whole thing with, COVID, that whole thing. Billy Boy, the computer guy, Gates, comes out with this documentary literally a month before it happens. Oh, that's kind of weird. Just a weird coincidence, of course. Nothing to see here, right? Same thing with this. Makes you kind of wonder what this is really all about. Are they really wanting to show us the aliens finally that they lied about for 80 years? Or is it something else going on? A little bit more maybe nefarious, right? Of course, she's literally being taken over by an alien. It inhabits her body apparently in this clip.
Let's today is today.
Uh-oh. Yeah, like everybody in the world's watching this one broadcast from a weather lady. Of course, you got the nuns as well. This almost reminds me of like 2012 or something, that movie. They got like the Catholic Church and everybody in the whole world. You got like the Muslims bowing down. Oh my God, listen, we got to watch this weather lady on the TV talking alien. Right? It's like, come on, man. We're all past this. We already know there's aliens. The question is, what are they? Are you going to lie to us about them? You going to lie to us about them? Are you going to tell us that we're created by aliens? They seeded us here on the world. There is no God. Is that what you're going to tell us? What are you going to tell us? Right? Whistleblower claims CIA used Ancestry and 23andMe DNA databases to hunt Nordic, of course, aliens. And some are saying it's actually more than that now. Some are saying that they're looking for specific types of people. Type O, apparent negative blood, things like that. Makes you kind of wonder, what are they trying to track down, really? Are there aliens on the loose? Are we living in Men in Black now? Is that the latest movie we're living in? Good question to ask. Actually, I kind of think we're living just in an insane asylum at this point because of all the insanity. In my other video, I'm going to cover all the insanity. There's literally crazy stuff going on. Here's one example. What's going on in New York City. Mayor Zoran Mamdani apparently trying to take ownership, transfer ownership from landlords to the community in New York City. This almost sounds like the USSR or something like that, like a communism. That's kind of strange. At any rate, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.